Hello everyone. So after a long time we meet. So we are going to learn Consumer Protection Act today. So that is also called as COPRA. So the Consumer Protection Act is an Indian law enacted to protect the right of the consumers, including the patients, against deficiency in services provided by professionals, including doctors and hospitals. So in a simple manner, what is Consumer Protection Act? What is a consumer? Consumer is a customer. Like consumer is the one who consumes the services offered by professionals to him or her, and uh, once you pay a service fee, it is your right to get the service properly. So even doctors and patients come into this. So the consumers here are the patients, and this act, Consumer Protection Act, was an act made by Indian government to protect the rights of patient, and it was an act for knowing the deficiency which is present in the services provided by the professionals, including doctors and hospitals. So there were two versions of this Consumer Protection Act. The first version, that was COPRA 1986, that is Consumer Protection Act 1986. It is now repealed, that is, it is now not into action. And the recent more advancement is Consumer Protection Act 2019. So this is the new act, and this is currently in force. So who is a consumer under COPRA? So consumer is, you can also refer to a consumer as a customer. So according to the act, a patient is a consumer if they pay for medical services in private hospitals or clinics, and the service is not free of cost. So a consumer or a patient pays for medical services in private hospitals and clinics. So that is self-explanatory. Like if you go to your, for example, if you are a family doctor, if you go to him, you have to pay certain amount of money as in consultation fee or some tests run by doctors, or maybe the consultation fee is the only fee what doctor charges. Rest and all is like what he uh, gives you, like what medications he gives you, prescribes you, and the service is not free of cost. So if the service is not free of cost, then the person is a consumer. So once you pay for it, you are a legal consumer of it. So, and this is a very important thing, because what happens is a patient is not a consumer if treated entirely free of cost in government hospitals. So there are some schemes which allow patients to not pay, like uh, to surpass the monetary scale of a medical intervention. So there are some schemes provided by government. So in this scheme, if you are not paying, you are not a legal consumer of that thing. So this act doesn't apply on that. So this is a very important thing. And by the way, this sentence is also important for NEET PG, because these are some keywords which might come as a single question which doesn't have any relation to any subject. So implications for doctors. So this is an important thing. So doctors and hospitals are liable under COPRA if, so this act is used for doctors when they provide deficient, negligent, or delayed services. Deficient, that is, if I have to provide a certain amount of care to someone, but I am not providing it much, and this is the only amount that I can provide. Or negligent, that is, I can't give my full attention to the patient, so that on all comes under negligent. And then delayed service, because delayed service is still pretty acceptable. Like it is obviously not acceptable, but delayed services are like a patient, sometimes he or she might be like, it's okay, because you know what happens, there are so many patients in India, there are so many patients to who comes under single doctor, so it's not possible to give treatment to each and every patient, so it becomes a big problem. But it's okay. But still, it shouldn't be delayed, like so much delayed. So doctors and hospitals are liable under COPRA if they provide deficient, negligent, and delayed services. They fail to inform or obtain proper consent. So, as you know, consent is of there are so many types of consent. So we'll also dive into that. Okay. So I'll give you a brief about consent. So there are two types of consent. Consent is divided under two types. That is, one is implied, and the other one is expressed. So expressed is also classified under oral and written. Oral is also called as verbal and written. So implied is something. So implied consent is a common type of consent observed in medical practice. Like a patient presumes, like if a patient has come into OPD, as a doctor, I presume that yes, he or she has given consent for a particular procedure. So there is an example in this book. The book is Dr. Rajesh Bardale, very nice book. I also studied from this book in my UG, and like I'm still in my UG, but still I studied it, and it's very good book. Okay, so I'll give you one example of implied consent. If a patient enters in clinic and is presumed, so it he or she is presumed that the patient has come for examination and consultation. Thus, the conduct of patient suggests that the willingness to undergo for medical examination. So this consent is not written, but legally it is effective. Okay, but it does not cover examination of private parts, venous puncture or injection, or any parenteral source attached, or major intervention or operation. So these are some things which doesn't come under implied consent. Then we have expressed consent. So an expressed consent can be verbal consent, like a patient has to, for example, consent obtained in presence of nurse or receptionist. Like if I can, like for examination, you have to touch the patient, so you can take his or her consent. And if you have a female patient, you should have a female attendant with you, maybe a female doctor or a female nurse. And same, if you're a female doctor and you have a male patient, you should have a male doctor or a male nurse. I hope you get this. Then there is written consent. So a written consent, and like there are types of written consent. Like one is informed consent, where you have to give each and every step of the operation. Like for example, if a person is opted for laparoscopic appendectomy, so that person has like a doctor. As a doctor, you have to give each and every information related to that procedure to the patient in his or her vernacular language, and you have to write it. Okay, so that is a written document which contains all the information. And so these are in two languages, maybe, like most probably it is in two languages, like the vernacular language, and in English also. It is there in English also. So it contains so many things. For example, the complications of the process, then the procedure, then the recovery period, then the fees which the doctor will charge, like what is the cost of the surgery and all. Then the follow-ups and all. So these and all comes in this implied, sorry, not implied, informed consent. So this is a brief of consent. We'll take a separate lecture on this properly as of now, but we'll continue with the COPRA. So let's go further. And there is, so the first one was they provide deficient, negligent, or delayed services. They fail to inform or obtain proper consent, and they're overcharging for or misleading practices. So it is very common, like some doctors do overcharge, but in India, majority doctors don't charge much. I definitely agree with this. The doctors around us don't charge much. There are doctors who charge, and there are some patients who also pay for this. But now that is a different thing. We shouldn't dive into it. And misleading practices, as you know, there are doctors who are very capable of doing stuff, uh, very capable of practicing medicine very nicely. But there are even quacks and some doctors who don't know how to practice properly, but they still practice. And that is because that is a part of our system. Because there is some, like there is good, there is bad, there is black, there is white. So it does, it is there in the system. Then a patient can file. a case for. So, on what basis a patient can file a case? So, first one is medical negligence, then wrong diagnosis or treatment, and failure in duty of care. So, we have learned medical negligence in the last lecture. If you want to learn more about it, you can, if you have not seen the lecture, you can check out the lecture. And also, please do read the book, Dr. Rajesh Bardale, very nice book of forensic medicine and toxicology. Then, wrong diagnosis or treatment. So, what is wrong diagnosis and treatment? So, if a doctor is not capable of getting a diagnosis, what he or she should do? Because wrong diagnosis is not getting the diagnosis correct or the treatment correct. So, if a doctor is not able to diagnose the case, he or she should definitely refer it to higher hospitals or maybe a better physician, experienced physicians. It's definitely okay, but it's not okay to make a mistake and then cry for it. Like, it's better to avoid it. Okay. And then failure in duty of care. So what is duty of care? So we have studied about this in our last lecture. So we'll take it back. What is duty of care? See, duty. So doctor is owed a duty of care to the patient. This is a simple definition of this. It is not much a big thing to do. Then, okay. And one question, okay? So if you guys are watching this video, if you like this, so definitely tell me, should doctors be kept out of the Consumer Protection Act? What are your opinions on this? And what do you think about this? Please let me know in the comment section. So I'll get to know that what audience think about this. Please, okay? Let's move further. Okay. So this is Consumer Dispute Redressal Commissions, that is CDRCS. We'll repeat, Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, CDRCS. So it has three. So I'm sorry for this mistake. Actually, this PPT was made a lot of time, like quite before. So there are some changes in this. So we have three. We'll first go with the levels. So there are three commissions. The first one is District Commission, second one is State Commission, and third one is the main, that is National Commission. So it is pretty much acceptable, and it is pretty much understandable too, that a district commissions operates in the basis of a district and around a district, whereas state operates around state, and national is for the entire nation. So what is the type of jurisdiction? So for the district, it is local. For the state, jurisdiction is state level, and on the national, it is national level. So what is the compensation limit? So if you want to learn about this in detail, you should watch the, you should read the chapter, and we'll talk about the limit. Okay. So I was telling that talking about the compensation limit is okay, but for the commission there are different compositions too. So let us go with the district commission first. So for district commission, the composition is, the district commission has following members: one president and not less than two members. So for district commission we have one president and not less than, let us, more than, not less than two members, that is equal to two or more than two members is required, not less than two members. So, what about jurisdiction and the compensation? So, it is original, that is local jurisdiction, and like it is original and it comes under local, and they entertain complaints that does not exceed 1 crore rupees. So, I'm sorry, I've written here 50 lakhs. So, this is 1 crore. So, just remember this is 1 CR and not 50 lakhs. Up to, like, max amount is 50 lakhs, that is below 1 crore. So below 1 crore they deal with that, below 1 crore or equal to 1 crore. Then what about state commission? So state commission has following members: one president, not less than four members. So just remember, one president plus four members, not less than that. Maybe more is fine. At least one member or the president of the state commission shall be the woman. So at least one or more than one woman. should be there. So this can be at least one member, or the president can also be a woman. And that's why women empowerment is very important, because it is important to know what different genders, like male, female, I don't know, like obviously there are so many genders according to people, but let's not dive into that. That would be very uh, that would be very off topic. But so let's go further. So this is appellate jurisdiction and state level, and it entertains the complaint that exceeds the rupees 1 crore but does not exceed rupees 10 crore. So this only deals within 1 to 10 crore. So compensation limit is max 10 crore and minimum 1 crore. So above 1 crore actually. Then we'll go for national commission. So in national commission, one president and not less than four members. So obviously, so let us consider one president plus maybe four and four, more than four. So maybe five, six, or anything is fine. And that woman wala rule, that remains the same. Or maybe if you have so many members, you can obviously have women in your panel. So that is not a problem. Then entertain the complaints that exceed rupees 10 crore. So more than 10 crore wala compensation is adjusted by national commission. So this comes in under this. Let us go further. Okay, so after completing CDRCS, we'll go by important terms under this. So first one is deficiency. So obviously, in the last slides, we have learnt about some certain medical problems and medical negligence things which do come under this COPRA. So we'll learn about those. So deficiency. So that is any fault, imperfection, or inadequacy in service provided by the doctor. That is deficiency. Not even doctor, like any professional who claims that he or she has a professional degree is providing a service to a consumer, and that service has any fault, imperfection, or inadequacy, it is called as deficiency. Then what is service? So as per our medical science, a service includes healthcare provided for a fee. So this is very important, the fee. Okay, so if you don't pay the fee, you don't come under Consumer Protection Act. So therefore, a doctor should charge consultation fee, because if something happens, a patient also has a legal right upon something, and even doctors have something to defend upon. Okay, so then what is unfair trade practice? That does mean overcharging, misleading ads, or false claims. Like, you must be knowing that there are some quacks who claim to be, like, in my city, I've seen some quacks claim to be diabetologist, endocrinologist, and they definitely don't have the degree. But the education of people in India, it lacks somewhere. I know there are so many people who are educated, but somewhere it lacks. And this fellow people do come under this flaw, false claims. They do think this is okay and we'll go by that, and they have to pay a huge amount of fee for that, and that fee isn't in money, but that costs their life. So please be aware of unfair trade practices. Then what is medical negligence? So that is breach of duty causing harm to the patient. So this we have learned in the last lecture. Please do go and watch that. Then we'll have a famous case. So this is a famous case, that was Indian Medical Association versus VP Shanta, 1995. Wala this case was. So it was in Supreme Court. So Supreme Court ruled that medical services come under COPRA. So before 1995, so according to the lecture, like according to the PPT and what we have learned, COPRA was given, the first COPRA was enacted upon in the year 1986. But doctors and medical services providers were added under this COPRA in 1995. So before that, doctors weren't in the list. That's why I've asked that question. So please do answer that. Then both private practitioners and hospitals are covered under this COPRA, and free government hospitals are exempted unless partially paid services do exist. So there are government hospitals who don't charge a single penny for the medical services. and therefore even a small blunder or even a big blunder made by them doesn't come under COPRA, and it becomes a huge issue. That's why there are some hospitals which do charge a particular amount of fee. In my college, like my college is a very good college, still they just charge 20 rupees for the OPD, because this way you can actually document the amount of patient and everything. So this is important. Then ethical principles related to COPRA violation. So this is non-malfeasance. We have learned this, that is negligence surgery. For example, I've given you that thing, that gossypipoma, leaving a sponge inside the human body while operating any surgery. Like LSCS may also they can do, in exploratory laparotomy also they can do. So this is some ethical principles. Then autonomy. So lack of informed consent of the patient. So not what comes under COPRA and relates to autonomy. So that is lack of informed consent. That is not providing inadequate, like providing inadequate information to the patient and not telling him or not explaining him or her into her or his vernacular language. Then what comes under justice? That is overcharging or discrimination. Like in India, it is very much common that discrimination is done on the basis of how much amount you pay on the fee counter, and some doctors do overcharge. This discrimination is still there, that was clear. So as a medical practitioner, you, the person who is watching this video, the person who is making this video, you shouldn't do discrimination between the patients, and just try to be same for each and every patient. Just be the same doctor that you are. What is accountability? So not accepting the responsibility. So if a doctor touches the patient for examination, for surgery, he or she should be 110%, 120% sure and take the responsibility onto his or her thing. Okay, so this is for this lecture. I know the topic is very small, but I have made it very big. But actually, this is a basic explanation for such words, because people, like I have seen students, they don't know simple judicial terms, and it's not their mistake because that is not taught in our system. So it's better to understand each and every word in depth, and I would like to teach you all some more things. So next lecture we'll go with a sentinel event. It is a very important and a very necessary thing for a physician or a surgeon. It brings the confidence, it brings the acceptance of what can go wrong and what have gone wrong, and the acceptance of what is wrong with this and what you can do further. So, what are the protocols for this? Standard protocols and special protocols. So, we learn about this in the next lecture, maybe tomorrow, because tomorrow is Christmas, so I have the time, so I can do it. And please learning, keep studying, read the textbooks which you have got, read any textbook. I myself studied from this Rajesh Bardali. I am taking the author's name like three times in a single in a single video. But this is a good book. That is the only reason why I'm taking its name. But you can read whichever book you want, whichever book you are comfortable with. Just keep reading, keep studying. Okay, all the very best. Thank you.